host, Riri. Welcome to Reimagining Life from Pain to Purpose, where you'll find a community focused on resilience and perseverance, sharing untold stories of hope and rebuilding while dealing with major life interruption. This podcast is made by and for people in the process of reimagining their lives. We're here to raise the voices of those who often suffer in silence, living with chronic pain and/or disability. This space is for you. We encourage you to get involved. So stick around and let's jump right into the next episode. Welcome to episode 23, where we'll learn about creating inclusive housing opportunities for adults with developmental disabilities. For this episode, we're going into the digital archive to bring you a special interview recorded last year with OSG. OSG is centered around the Disability Forward movement, bringing together people with and without developmental disabilities, family members, caregivers, and the larger community. We'll learn how a simple concept, that community itself can be infrastructure, and how that has the power to change lives. Our interviewee today is Margot Greenlee, the Executive Director of OSG, Our Stomping Ground, a Northern Virginia nonprofit creating inclusive housing and community opportunities for adults with developmental disabilities. Under her leadership, OSG helps people build meaningful lives by pairing affordable housing with opportunities for community engagement and interdependent living. Before joining OSG, Margot spent more than 15 years as the founder and artistic director of Bodywise Dance, where she developed inclusive art programs that brought together people of all ages and abilities. Her work has included collaborations with universities, healthcare systems, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations, all focused on expanding access to the arts. Let's jump right into our conversation with Margot. Welcome, Margot. We're so excited to have you here today. And I'm wondering if you can start us off by giving our listeners a little perspective. What makes you part of the Reimaginer community?
Well, my organization, Our Stomping Ground, OSG for short, we serve people with developmental disabilities across Northern Virginia who are interested in understanding their options inside of affordable housing. And then we also help them if they do move into one of our 7 partner sites. We are right there, in the building, on the ground, developing all sorts of cool programs and ways for people to get to know their neighbors. So we're just very much in the community, and we're made up of people who have developmental disabilities and the families and the caregivers and just the bigger community all around us who are interested in the disability forward movement.
That's fantastic. I'm excited for our listeners to learn more because I love what you're working towards. It's fabulous. Okay. So can you tell us, how did Our Stomping Ground come about? What were the greatest struggles?
Yeah, I would say that the organization was started about 5 years ago by Paula and Joe Mannion, who were trying to help their son, Mike, move into the next phase of his life. He was in his early 30s, and he was really interested in living out in the community, either on his own or with a roommate. And they were just really struggling with, what were their options. They went to a tour at Main Street, which is a new development up in Rockville, Maryland. And they were super excited. And they're like, oh, okay, so we're going to go back to Northern Virginia. We're going to build an apartment building. It will be for people with and without disabilities. They had this whole model that they were thinking of replicating. And they presented that idea at a meeting of the JCC. They were expecting, 20 people to come. They had over 200 people show up.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of community interest. And the word got out about that, and they were contacted by a local developer, affordable housing developer, who basically said, look, you do not need to build from scratch. There is housing that is set aside for people with developmental disabilities in affordable housing. And so why don't you come look at that before you go down this road, which would have been, it's hard to get a building made, right? So they explored that, and simultaneously, another person who was in the room that night was the parent of a young adult who had moved into Gilliam Place along with a couple other friends. And so it was already happening. There was already this model, and it was, just kind of starting to be explored. And so Paula and Joe took this, it really did a U-turn and looked at a different way to make housing work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say, in terms of greatest struggles, and let me just backtrack a tiny bit, we've now housed over 70 people across 7 sites from Alexandria to Arlington out to Herndon and the George Mason University campus. What I see when when new folks come to programs, like let's say it's a yoga class or one of our nature walks or a movie night, or tonight there's going to be a fire pit at Waypoint. I know it's like I'm going. I'm going. I heard that we needed extra chocolate and marshmallows. I'm like, ugh, this is an event that I have to show up at. Okay, good. So all of our programming is free, and you can come if you're one of the residents of the building, but you can come if you're not, like anyone is welcome to come. So what I notice is that, parents are usually coming along with an adult child who might be in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And these parents are completely up against it. They take care of somebody probably on a daily basis. They're trying to manage all of the services, all of the extra care. And that can be an incredibly isolating experience. We've probably been living with a high degree of isolation for quite a while. And even getting to an event is a huge step, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we offer is a sense of immediate community, people that you can just enjoy having a good time with or enjoy digging into a deep topic with, and ongoing support for, like, oh, you have a question about transportation. Oh, well, we know in this jurisdiction you can connect to Uber, and over there you need to call, right? So we're this hub of information and resource sharing. And it's all free, so there's not the cost barrier. You don't have to set up any kind of paper chain and trail and all of that, right? It's very accessible and a quick entry point for folks.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I know that, there's so many things that face parents, people with developmental disabilities. I'm wondering if you could just to give people a taste of sort of what all they have to deal with. What are some of the struggles that face parents that you come into contact with?
Sure. And I'll preface this with, most of the parents that I meet and that, come into the OSG community have older adult children.
Mm-hmm.
But starting at a very early age, parents are thinking about, how do I get my child diagnosed? The earlier diagnosis, the earliest interventions are really helpful, right? To get that support early on. And we know if you're not diagnosed by the age of 18, it can limit the kind of services you receive later in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting those diagnoses, I feel like there's such a burden in terms of, getting educational support, getting the right medical care, getting the community engagement, and, just the friends and family and peers around you that, I was talking to a parent recently who said, of a younger child, somebody who's still only 2 or 3 years old. And maybe he was exaggerating, but he said that they had 20 doctor's appointments in a month.
Wow.
He might not have been exaggerating, right?
Yeah.
Especially if they're trying to do special occupational therapy or physical therapy or speech therapy. It's like, it's so much. And
Yeah.
it is very common for one parent to have to leave their work in order to be the full-time caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
It's very common for marriages to break up because of the stress.
Mm-hmm.
And, so in what I see it as a multi-generational problem. because of the stress that it puts on parents and their children together and what it means for them financially. And, as soon as you take one person out of the employment cycle, that has long-term ramifications for the family.
For sure.
Yeah, so those are just a few of the things that I'm seeing on the ground.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is such a complicated and sort of intricate dance that you're describing, all of these pieces that you fit together, because you offer so many different services and you have to coordinate, I'm sure, with all these different people and organizations. Could you tell us with whom do you partner and work, and how do you manage that?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, let me talk first just about the housing side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, I'm talking about Northern Virginia, which is almost like 5 different countries all each other. But, people in other areas will have to translate this a bit to fit their environment. So an affordable housing site, their leasing agent, anytime they have an opening, if they have not already filled their priority slots for people with developmental disabilities, then they have to report that to the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services, which is a state organization. About once or twice a week, I get a notice of all of the openings across Virginia, and I quickly scan that for sites that we partner with.
Mm-hmm.
And if I see, Gilliam Place or the Arden or Waypoint or the Cadence, they have an opening with a DD preference, right? We then, OSG, blasts that. We send an email out to anybody who has told us, hey, I'm interested in housing. Please keep me, it's an alert, essentially.
Right.
And the reason why that's important, and the reason why we've managed to fill 70 slots in the past couple of years, is that those preference units only have to hold an opening for a matter of days.
Wow.
Right. And so, and if it is not, claimed or, applied for by somebody with developmental disabilities, it goes back to the general population, which, is great. Everyone, needs this housing. But it's been really important for OSG's success to be able to say, actually, this apartment building is supposed to have 10 units dedicated to people with developmental disabilities. We want to make sure 10 people with developmental disabilities actually get to move in, right? Otherwise, we're leaving units on the table.
Right.
And so we've filled this very important communication gap that was basically, disrupting that system. The system was put into place, but it wasn't working. And so we have these housing alerts, and probably 2 or 3 times a month, we are out at public events. We're brought in by a school to talk to parents. We're brought in, by a state organization to talk a little bit about what we do. And so we're constantly telling more and more people, this is a service we offer. It is free. Please get on our housing list if you're interested, because otherwise, it's really tough. I know that some parents or caregivers will, submit an application to an apartment building in hopes of kind of being on a wait list. But from what we've seen, those early applications are not well managed. It's like, who takes care of that list of paper, right?
Yeah.
Or that stack of paper. So what we do when we send out that alert, it is essentially a call to action to say, if you want to be in this building, contact our representative, or the coordinator at the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services, who is phenomenal. She's amazing, Jeannie Cummins. And that way, then she will hold that spot. She'll contact the leasing agent and be like, we've got somebody, hold the spot. We're starting to work on the paperwork. So can you kind of, in your imagination, can you see that circle that has to happen? Because otherwise I'm happy to
Absolutely.
mentally draw it one more time.
And it has to be so fast.
It is so fast, right? I mean, I thought when I first came into this work and I was learning about it, I was like, 5 days? How does
Yeah.
anything happen? Like if you don't look at your email every day and if you're not on top of that kind of thing, which, a lot of us aren't, whether we have kids or adult children with developmental disabilities or not, it's like, oh my gosh. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's a really, really important part of the puzzle that we offer. And our partners in the affordable housing leasing offices and DBHDS are super important to that picture. Um,
Yeah.
Now, we also provide a lot of programming, so I'm happy to talk to you about some of the ways we partner on that side too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, Our Stomping Ground, OSG, now offers about 100 hours of free activities and events every month. Many of them are located at the apartment building sites. Those are our hub sites, but some of them
Hmm.
happen just out in the community. So, for example, we have dinner clubs where we might get together at a local food court, right? So
Hmm.
that's what we would call offsite. We meet at Roosevelt Island every Friday at 10 a.m. for a nature walk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we typically have, like 24 people that join us for that. It's really great. We have a yoga class, an adapted yoga class at our site. We have occupational therapy and physical therapy and art therapy. And those, so drilling down into the programming right now, we have a really wonderful relationship with George Washington University, a number of different departments whose students are interested in working with people who have developmental disabilities. It's, typically not part of their educational training beyond, a brief unit, right? But they've identified that they would like to have a better awareness and understanding of the needs of people with developmental disabilities. So they work with us for a term or even up to a year on a capstone project. So that's another way we program. Um, let's see, we have a great partnership with Social Grace, which they are a therapeutic group that includes social workers, and they really work beautifully with people who have DD. But they lead one of our nature walks at a different site at Le Run on Sundays. So
Nice.
while my staff help lead and curate programs, it's we have about 20 partners that
Yeah.
bring content to us and bring energy and extra leadership.
Wow. That's fantastic that you're able to offer so many things and you have so many different people involved in
Yeah.
providing such great wraparound services. That's really impressive. Yeah. And I know that you mentioned earlier that you offer these some of these activities to people, community members who are non-disabled. Can you talk a little bit about why you do that and sort of what's the philosophy behind that?
Yeah, well, we're part of the developmental disability forward movement, of course, and our vision of the future is an inclusive world, right? And so
Yeah.
we need to be together. We have such a segregated, educational system, and it doesn't often give kids a chance to be together with people of all different abilities. And so the more we can do that now, the better. Um,
Yeah.
we know that, the general population has, it depends on the data you're looking at, but, roughly 10% of the population has developmental disability throughout the course of their life. And so we like to create events that, as close as possible, replicate that same mix of folks, right?
Hmm.
There are certainly events that are more, you know, more populated by folks with DD, and sometimes that has to do with, well, what time of day is it?
Hmm.
Our 9 a.m. walk is, a lot of people are at work already.
Right.
So, yes, the more we can be in and around and together, the better we understand each other. And here's a fun example of that. One of the folks that lives at our, one of our affordable housing sites is he's loud. He has Tourette's, and he can be super loud, and he's a very fun person to be with, but it can be a little surprising. Like if you don't know him yet, it's like, whoa, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
And because he is part of a music program there at the building, sponsored by one of our great partners, Arlington Presbyterian Church, who was the developer of that site. I want to come back to that story in just a moment. But so he has been in the group music class with, other people in the building. And one of them is, uh, a young girl. I think she's in about fifth grade right now. But I heard a really fun story about how she was talking to somebody, and, her friend was making lots of noise down at the end of the hall. And she was basically like, yeah, that's him. He's loud. He's my friend. We both like the Beatles, you know?
That's
So
great.
it's like, let's get beyond, kind of some of the externals and the definition and categorization of who people are and how we are, and look at what do we share?
Yeah.
What do we love to do together? What do we have differing opinions about? And how do we show up and stand up for our different opinions? But I mean, that's really where the magic happens. It is getting people who wouldn't normally together. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay. Well, what would you say the long-term goals you have for participants in Our Stomping Ground is?
Well, that's interesting. So of the people, let's see, I just got statistics earlier this morning. We've had about 1,000 people come to our events this past year.
Oh.
And some of them, pop in for one or two events, and some of them I see them every week, 3 or 4 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only about 70 people are housed through OSG support, and all the rest are not, right? So they still live at home, or they are caregivers, or they live in a group home, or they have some other housing situation. What I'm seeing, since we're already 5 years old, is that some people move in to one of our sites and they get to have a roommate for the first time, and they stabilize their work situation, and they learn how to be a neighbor for the first time. And they learn how to take control of their social life in a new way because, they start inviting people to do things with them on their own time, and, like building their social networks.
Mm-hmm.
And then they might move on. They might move out. They might say, oh, you know what? I want to live closer to work. How can I do that? We have a great example of somebody who has moved out of the Arden recently to be a roommate with somebody that you got to know through OSG. And now they live closer to work. And it's like I guess I wish for any participant to get to experience the same flow of life changes and phases that other people get to enjoy.
Yeah.
Right? Just because I like, what do I like right now? Just because I was going to say, just because I like Ted Lasso now doesn't mean I'm going to 10 years from now, but that might be a lie. Just because I live with my family in a house right now doesn't mean I'm going to want to do that forever. I might want to have roommates and live in more of a co-op someday. And I feel like OSG, regardless of whether you move into one of the sites or however you want to handle housing, it's just this beautiful place where people can practice whatever it is they need to practice. Do you want to practice being a neighbor? Do you want to practice being a self-advocate? Do you want to practice just showing up for an event every, once a week at the same time and place? Because you need to put more routine in your life. Like that's going to make you happy and that's going to give you another skill set.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's creating that space where people really have the opportunity to be the most themselves, however
Yeah.
they are defining that in the moment, and that they're given the opportunity to try it out in a safe and encouraging setting.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, that's kind of what we all would wish for everyone.
Of course. Right. Yeah. we want to grow and we want to have buddies to, lend us encouragement along the way.
Absolutely. So that's sort of the goals of participants. What about for OSG as an organization? What are your long-term goals?
Well, it's interesting. We're in the middle of a strategic planning process, which is not great food for a podcast. Okay, everybody's just like turning the volume down at this point. No, we're trying to figure out. We know that we want to have a great impact on this problem, right? We want to take this beautiful model that we've created here and share it, scale it, expand it. Ideally, we would be able to expand to the size of the problem. That would be great. Right? Let's solve the problem. But there are a number of different ways that we can do that. And so we are looking at, because we get calls all the time from both, organizations here in Virginia and around the country and around the world asking, wait, how do you do what you do? What is it? Like, what's the mechanics and everything? Mm-hmm. We could potentially really push out the way we are able to train, like how can we help people learn what we are doing in the most efficient and helpful way and see how it applies to their local situation, right? Because everything we do is not going to work for everyone else. We're clearly in an urban environment. We've chosen to partner with affordable housing that is right in the center of urban hubs where there will be transportation, grocery store, all of that good stuff. And we're working within a particular administrative structure around how does affordable housing even work here in Northern Virginia, and how do units become preferenced for people with developmental disabilities. It's a whole administrative chain of events and chain of procedures.
Sure.
But so that's one possible way that we can grow and have great impact and support what other organizations around the world are trying to do. Mm-hmm. We might also decide, well, we want to partner with affordable housing across Virginia. We might expand from the local area to statewide. We might partner with other service organizations that want to understand how they can incorporate affordable housing. We have a number of organizations that I know of that really want to help on the housing front. And we can also help people understand better how to lead inclusive programming.
Yeah.
Right? So what does movie night look like in a room full of people with all kinds of abilities? Mm-hmm. What kinds of things do we know because our advocates have told us that are helpful? Yeah, so we're in a phase of all thoughts are good thoughts, all ideas are good ideas. To quote Ted Lasso, we're not going to bring an umbrella to the brainstorm. Sorry, I just found out season 4 is coming. I can't believe it.
I know. It's always great to quote Ted Lasso. I mean, how can you go wrong?
But yeah, so there are lots of possibilities. And for anybody who's listening to this podcast, if you have an idea that you want to talk to me about, please be in touch. Okay. OSG has really just, we're a young organization, but we've done really well over the past few years because we have been open to a lot of conversations and a lot of advocacy.
That's fantastic.
And I think, the more people can share transparently about what they're doing and what they want to do, I think that can only be helpful to the rest of the world. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Absolutely. Could you share with us some either lessons learned or perhaps even some surprises you've discovered along the way as you've been, learning and then growing and embracing all of these activities?
Oh, what did I learn yesterday? Let's see. I think, this was essentially started as a PTA model where
Mhm.
it was all volunteer run for the first 2 years. I think the part of the lesson is that we still need to hold on to that sense of PTA in that parents and caregivers are a really important part of what we do day to day. That we are, free. Our programs are free, and we have a small staff, but it's still that ongoing, super intensive grassroots organizing on the ground
Mhm.
that makes OSG go.
Yeah.
We have to, a lesson learned is that we have to continue to differentiate ourselves from a service provider so that our community understands what we do offer.
Yeah. That's a good
Other
point. Yeah.
and how to say that and how to invite people to lend their energy however they best can. So, for example, someone might volunteer to help co-lead an event, right?
Mhm.
They've got a great example is they've got mad artistic skill, and so they're offering to lead an art workshop. Fantastic. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a way that you can lend your expertise. And, the OSG staff is there to co-lead it and do all of the behind the scenes. But another great way to support OSG is just to show up and participate in an event. Just come and enjoy yourself, right?
Mhm.
Because it is that sense of community, and more people are involved, and that gives us all more reasons to have conversations. So,
Mhm. It's very inclusive.
yeah. So we're not. I would say one of the things that we're not going to become in the future is an organization that is where the staff just show up and do everything, and it's there's not that sense of like we are in this together.
Mhm. It's very community oriented. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great.
Other lessons learned. Oh, the need to show up and advocate is really, really important. Just last month, we helped an affordable housing site get all the way through its public hearing process so that it is able to, build at a new site and all this. I think we showed up at 7 or 8 public hearings in order to make that possible. Other people were in the room for sure,
Yeah.
but a lot of the council members referred to our presence as important and valuable, and in really helping them understand why is this particular building so important? How is it going to support the DD community?
Mhm.
So speaking up and helping people understand our needs is incredibly important, whether that's at a public hearing or at a community event, anything. Maybe just speaking to a group at your workplace as part of an employee ERG. ERG. Sorry,
Yeah.
the acronym is going out of my brain, but as a interest group, a special interest group, or maybe a local church is curious. So
Mhm.
sharing our own perspectives is really important. We might not be able to speak to the big broad picture, not everybody can talk about Medicaid. That's fine.
Right.
But just share your experience and what you know so far. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think, members of OSG are DD advocates, that, sharing their lived experience, as well as parents and caregivers. That's given us a reach all across Virginia. That's just been really, really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, you're clearly such great advocates for so many different sort of points along the spectrum in a way.
Mhm.
And that's got to be so powerful. So that's really great.
Yeah. And we go to other people's events too, like the Arc of Northern Virginia, the State Arc.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the General Assembly every year and we show up and, we're part of those rallies. So we don't have to do it alone. I would say, if any of your listeners have some extra energy, even just to sit first and think, who could I talk to?
Yeah.
And then, act on that when you have the time and energy. I feel like I don't want to put more weight on anybody's shoulders. I just want to invite you to be aware of moments when you might be called on beautifully.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
No,
just in the grocery store line. Like I know another friend of mine's like, oh yeah, I had another grocery store conversation. It all matters. All those conversations matter.
no, that's actually great. One of my questions was, what do you need to help reach your goals? And so that's a great example. Are there other things that you can think of that you really need that listeners or other people that they might know might be able to help with?
Yeah, in terms of supporting our stomping ground,
Yeah.
we love to have new folks come to our events because usually once you see it and experience for yourself, you're like, oh, wait a second, I know how I can help, or I know how I want to lean into this issue.
Mm-hmm.
We always need more people thinking for us. You know what I mean? It is that part. So that's why I say come to an event, contact me. We are, of course, in a new and somewhat worrisome
Yeah.
political environment where, it just looks like there's going to be a need for looking very, very carefully at policies that are coming down the pike and being able to speak to them and help leaders of, any leader that is interested and supportive of the developmental disability movement. We're going to need to talk to them even more to be like, oh, here's what happens if Medicaid is impacted. Here's what happens if the 504s are impacted, just so that they know, because it's a lot to keep track of. And there are so many, there's so many perspectives. There are so many kind of complicated issues once you drill down past the headline.
Right.
And we have to be there to help the world understand our perspective and how it's going to impact us.
Absolutely. Yeah. The current political climate, I can only imagine, is extremely challenging for all NGOs, you guys included. And I'm just wondering, how have you been able to, carry on and keep going and figure out creative ways to keep doing the great work you're doing?
I would say we're still kind of early days in terms of figuring out how specifically are we vulnerable. I know in general we're highly vulnerable just because of the current policies that are either already rolling out or have the potential to.
How has the political climate impacted you, and sort of what can other NGOs do in this type of environment? If you have any insight that you can.
I do, yeah, just from the meetings that I've had over the past couple weeks. Of course, nonprofits should continue to be strong advocates for their mission. We also, I think, need to communicate better with each other to see if there are services that we offer that could potentially be either streamlined or, synthesized. Like, is there something on my plate that you could take? Is there something on your plate that I could do? Like, how Are there
Mhm.
creative ways to kind of lean on each other?
Right.
And knowing that our, our funding environment is going to be pretty rough. And so are there ways that we can encourage donors to help us get meetings with new donors? Like,
Yeah.
can you help us communicate? Because we do hear from the foundation side that some donors are like, nobody asked me. I don't know what people need. It's like, well, now is the time for foundations and community foundations to really help nonprofits get in front of
Mhm.
people and organizations that are working on mission specific things that they are, connected around. It's also a time to encourage our funders to dip into their endowments.
Yeah.
And you have that money for a rainy day. Guess what? We are getting out our umbrellas. But like, just really lean in and help each other. I think this kind of environment can push people back into their scarcity mindset.
Mhm.
And I say no to that. I refuse to get sucked into that fear cycle. Not that I'm not afraid. I'm not stupid. Uh, but we can't stay in that mindset. We have to pull ourselves back out, be like, okay, who can I help? Who can I connect with? What is a new creative solution? Because we're here because we're creative.
Mhm.
And let me be open once again to new possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just have to, um, you know, w- not that we weren't already great, but we got to be extra superlative.
Yeah.
And I would say to balance that, and I've told my staff this too. I've told them, give yourself a 10% surprise factor in
Mm.
your week's calendar. Because what I'm noticing already is that I've got about 4 to 6 hours of surprise that comes my way
Yeah. Each week.
each week, easily.
Yeah.
And so what needs to be, is there something that can be simplified to make room for that surprise?
Mhm.
Um, like what needs to happen so that we have a little more spaciousness and rest.
Yeah.
You have to build in
Wise.
extra rest. I know things are exciting and they can be more draining and it can feel like we're on a bit of a roller coaster. So
Yeah.
rest up. Yeah. Rest today. It's never too soon to rest.
That's very wise advice, I think. Okay. So before we get to our last couple questions, is there anything else you wanted to add or that we haven't talked about that you think is important for our listeners to know?
Mm. There's one thing that's really core to our stomping ground, and I know that some of you might already know this term, but we say dignity of risk.
Mm.
That that safety balanced with exploration is really what we're about as humans, and really giving people the opportunity to try. I know I talked about this a little bit earlier about practicing things, but
Mm-hmm.
I really love that expression, dignity of risk. Um,
Yeah.
you know, there will be mistakes, there will be moments that don't feel perfectly safe, and that's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really healthy. There
Mhm.
has to be, the ability to fail. You can learn a lot from failure, just like you learn from success. I mean, you can learn more.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's very wise advice. Now we've come to our rapid fire 5 for 5 questions. Please answer honestly and quickly, whatever comes to mind. What's your favorite sound?
Birds.
What's your favorite word?
Purple.
Ooh, nice. Do you have a favorite guilty pleasure or doesn't have to be guilty?
Oh, Ted Lasso. rewatching. This is going to be the podcast where people watching are like, wow, she's a little wacky. Rewatching, and I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Rewatching
really.
Ted Lasso episodes because they just give me this perfect dopamine hit that I need right now. There you go.
Okay, great. What's something you've learned that you wish others would understand?
Here's a good one. The best way to wash out a blender is to fill it with sudsy water and then turn it on for a while. Puree.
A good tip. Okay. And the last one, what advice would you give to an 18-year-old you?
18-year-old me. Take that theater improv class. Yeah. I didn't get to theater improv until much later. And I'm so glad I did. But I think 18-year-old Margot would have been terrified, which is why I didn't, I'm sure. But
okay.
Yeah, go try that thing.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, those are all the questions I have for you. Thank you so much for spending the time with us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's so great. I really appreciate it.
Truly inclusive spaces happen when communities are intentionally designed to support relationships, contribution, and choice making. OSG is testing what that looks like in real time. They're learning from residents, families, neighbors, and housing partners as they build communities where people of all abilities can thrive. As we learned in this interview, OSG has 7 partner site buildings and has activities that reach well beyond those sites, bringing together people of all abilities. While they've housed over 70 people with developmental disability, approximately 1,000 participants attend their roughly 100 hours of free activities and events each month. Their partnerships are what give them great strength and flexibility. Some partners include affordable housing offices, occupational therapists, yoga teachers, George Washington University, a group of social workers, and Arlington Presbyterian Church. Originally started as a PTA model, all volunteer-based, parents and caregivers are really important to what they do on a day-to-day basis. The grassroots organizing on the ground helps them keep going and expand, and they recognize the need to continue to show up and advocate for themselves and others. One of my favorite goals that OSG supports is the dignity of risk, safety balanced with exploration. It really means creating a safe environment where people are given the opportunity to try. Thanks for listening to Reimagining Life from Pain to Purpose. We're always interested to hear your feedback and questions. So leave a review and drop us a note at reimagininglifepodcast@gmail.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram. We hope you'll tune in for the next episode.